Ethan Hale had learned that quiet never lasted on the frontier. The outpost drifted at the edge of human-controlled space, a metal shell wrapped around a dead moon. It was supposed to be a listening post, a place to watch old war routes and forgotten alien lanes. Most days, nothing happened. The silence pressed down so hard that even breathing sounded loud. Ethan was alone in the engineering bay when the first warning tone chimed. He frowned and rolled out from under a half-open alien power console. The device was not human-made. Its surface was smooth, dark, and covered in faint lines that looked like frozen lightning. It had been pulled from a battlefield years ago, tagged as inactive, and shipped here for study. Ethan's job was simple: keep it stable and make sure it did not explode. "Stay dead," he muttered, tapping a scanner against the casing. The scanner screamed. Energy spiked so fast that the lights flickered. The air grew cold, then hot, then wrong, like reality itself had taken a wrong step. Ethan barely had time to swear before space folded inward. With a sharp crack, something appeared above him, something living. A body slammed into his chest, knocking the breath from his lungs. They both hit the floor hard, tools flying, alarms wailing. Ethan groaned, staring up at the ceiling, lungs burning. "Okay," he gasped. "That's new." The weight on his chest shifted. A pair of unfamiliar eyes stared down at him, wide with fear. The face was alien but close enough to human to be unsettling. Smooth, pale skin with faint silver markings. Dark hair that floated slightly, as if gravity was optional. Her clothes were torn and scorched. She scrambled back, limbs moving too fast, panic clear in every motion. A glow flickered around her body, unstable and pulsing. Ethan raised his hand slowly. "Easy, you're safe, I think." The glow spiked. The air snapped again. She vanished. Ethan lay there for a moment, heart pounding, staring at the empty space where she had been. The alarms began to die down as systems reset themselves. He sat up slowly. "I really hate alien tech." Before he could stand, the air cracked again. She reappeared directly above him. They collided a second time, rolling across the floor. This time Ethan managed to twist, shielding her head from the metal plating. They landed in a heap, both breathing hard. She froze. Ethan did not move. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then she whispered something in a language Ethan did not know, her voice shaking. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I feel the same." The glow around her dimmed just a little. Ethan slowly pushed himself into a sitting position, keeping his movements careful. "My name is Ethan, human." "Engineer, I'm guessing you didn't plan to end up here." She studied him closely, as if memorizing his face. Slowly she nodded. She placed a hand over her chest. "Lyra." Her voice sounded tired, older than she looked. Ethan glanced at the alien device, now humming softly, lines of light flowing across its surface. "That thing is teleport tech, isn't it?" Lyra's expression tightened. She nodded again, then spoke carefully, choosing each word. "Broken. Running. It should not lock." "Lock?" Ethan asked. Before she could answer, the glow returned. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "No," she whispered. She vanished again. Ethan cursed and jumped to his feet, scanning the room. A heartbeat later, she reappeared, right in front of him this time, colliding with his chest and nearly knocking them both over again. He caught her by instinct, steadying her. She trembled in his arms. "It keeps pulling you back," he said slowly. "To me." Lyra looked up at him, terror and confusion mixing in her eyes. "That is impossible." "Yeah," Ethan said. "That's kind of our specialty." The outpost alarms changed tone, sharper now. External sensors lit up on the wall displays. Unidentified ships were entering the system. Ethan swore under his breath. "Of course, bad timing is universal." Lyra followed his gaze and her fear deepened. "They will feel the teleport echo, they will come for me." "Who is they?" Ethan asked. She hesitated. "Anyone who does not want me alive." That was not comforting. Ethan moved quickly, pulling her toward the far side of the bay. "Then we don't stand around, we move." As they ran, Lyra stumbled. The glow flared again. "No, no, no," Ethan muttered. She vanished. A split second later she reappeared, crashing into him from above. They both fell behind a crate as the first impact shook the station. Something hit the outer hull. "Okay," Ethan said, breathless but focused. "We are officially in trouble." The alien ships opened fire, testing defenses. The outpost's old weapons powered up slowly, never meant for a real fight. Ethan looked at Lyra. "Can you control when you jump?" She shook her head. "Only when calm. Fear triggers emergency return." "To me," Ethan said. She nodded, ashamed. "Your signal is stable." "My core is damaged. It clings to what does not break." Ethan blinked at that. Human engineers were many things, but stable was not usually one of them. "Well," he said, forcing a small smile, "you picked a stubborn anchor." The lights flickered again. Another hit. Ethan grabbed a portable shield and activated it, placing it over them. "We need to get you somewhere safer." Lyra closed her eyes, trying to breathe. The glow softened. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a boarding alarm screamed. Figures cut through the hull on the far side of the station. Scavengers. Opportunists who followed war relics and weak defenses. Ethan felt his jaw tighten. He pulled a sidearm from his belt and checked the charge. Lyra looked at the weapon, then at him. "You will die for this." "Maybe," Ethan said, "but not today." The first scavenger rounded the corner, alien armor patched and mismatched. Ethan fired, dropping him. More followed. Lyra gasped as energy fire splashed against the shield. Fear surged. The glow exploded outward. Ethan braced himself. She vanished. The next moment she reappeared directly on top of him as he crouched, knocking them both flat again. A blast passed over where his head had been seconds before. He laughed once, sharp and breathless. "Okay, that part is actually useful." They moved together now, almost instinctively. When Lyra panicked, she jumped and always landed with Ethan. When Ethan ran, she stayed close, gripping his arm, trying to stay calm. They reached the engineering core, where the teleport device hummed louder than before. Lyra stared at it, horror in her eyes. If it overloads, it will tear space apart. Ethan glanced at the incoming enemy signals, then at the device. "Can you shut it down?" She shook her head slowly. "Only if I separate from it." "And that would kill me," she said simply. Ethan swallowed. Another hit rocked the station. Time was running out. Ethan stepped forward, placing his hands on the alien device. The surface burned cold, then hot, then steady. "Then we do it the human way," he said. Lyra looked at him sharply. "There is no human way for this." He met her gaze. "There is always a human way. It usually involves risk." The device reacted to his touch. The light patterns shifted, stabilizing slightly. Lyra felt it immediately. She stared at him in shock. "It is responding." "Good," Ethan said, "because I have no idea what I'm doing." For the first time since arriving, Lyra laughed, a short, surprised sound. The outpost shook again as more enemies boarded. Ethan squared his shoulders, standing between Lyra and the chaos beyond. Every alarm screamed. Space itself bent around them. And somehow, impossibly, a human stood at the center of it, unbroken. The station no longer felt like a place. It felt like a wound. Metal groaned under stress as enemy weapons struck again and again. The artificial gravity flickered, making every step uncertain. Sparks rained from damaged panels, and the air carried the sharp smell of burnt circuits. Ethan kept his hands on the alien device, even though every instinct told him to pull away. The surface shifted under his palms, reacting to his touch as if it could sense him. The light pattern slowed, no longer wild but still unstable. Lyra stood close, her breathing uneven. Each explosion made her flinch. Each flinch made the glow around her body tremble, threatening another jump. Ethan noticed and spoke without turning. "Breathe. Focus on me, not them." She obeyed, though fear still shook her frame. "If I lose control again, I will return to you." "That's fine," Ethan said. "I'm hard to miss." A distant blast cut through the station. The hull shook violently. Ethan finally pulled his hands away from the device. "We need to move. This place won't hold." Lyra nodded. There is a safe chamber below, shielded, old design. Old but solid, Ethan asked. Yes, then lead the way. They stepped into the corridor just as a section of wall collapsed behind them. Debris filled the passage. A scavenger appeared through the smoke, raising a weapon. Ethan fired first. The alien dropped. Lyra gasped, fear surging. The glow flashed. Ethan braced himself. She vanished. An instant later, she reappeared against his back, arms locked around him as gravity cut out for half a second. They both floated, then slammed back down as gravity returned. Ethan grunted. Okay, less surprise would be nice. I am trying, Lyra whispered. They moved faster now, weaving through corridors that flickered between emergency lighting and darkness. The outpost map scrolled across Ethan's wrist display, red warnings spreading like infection. The scavengers were everywhere. A blast struck close. Ethan was thrown forward. His shoulder slammed into a wall. Pain flared. Before he could recover, Lyra vanished again. She reappeared in front of him, knocking him backward, out of the path of incoming fire. The blast hit the wall where his head had been. They stared at each other for a moment, stunned. That, Ethan said, breathless, saved my life. Lyra looked at her hands. I did not choose it. Still counts. They reached a vertical shaft leading downward. The lift was dead. Can you climb? Ethan asked. Lyra nodded, though uncertainty crossed her face. Her species was not built for human-style movement, but fear was a powerful teacher. They climbed as the sounds of battle echoed above them. Halfway down, the glow flared again. No, Lyra whispered. She vanished. Ethan cursed, clinging to the ladder. She reappeared wrapped around him, nearly sending them both falling. He locked one arm around the ladder and the other around her, muscles screaming. They hung there, breathing hard. Next time, he said through clenched teeth, warning would be great. I did not know it would happen, she said, voice shaking. They continued downward, slower now. When they reached the bottom, Ethan collapsed against the wall, chest heaving. The safe chamber lay ahead, a thick, sealed door with alien markings etched deep into the metal. Lyra placed her hand on the door. It opened, recognizing her signal. Inside, the air was still. The walls were reinforced, the lights steady. For the first time since the attack began, the noise dimmed. Ethan locked the door behind them and leaned against it, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor. Well, he said, we're not dead yet. Lyra lowered herself beside him, exhaustion written across her face. They will not stop. Then neither will we. Silence stretched between them, broken only by distant impacts. Lyra studied him closely. Why do you help me? Ethan shrugged. Because you showed up scared and alone, because the galaxy has enough people who look away. She looked down. My people once believed humans were fragile, too emotional, too reckless. Still are, Ethan said. Doesn't mean we break. Her glow flickered faintly, then stabilized. Suddenly, the alien device in the chamber began to hum again. The teleport core was sinking through the station, seeking Lyra. Her eyes widened. It is trying to complete the bond. Is that bad? Ethan asked. If it finishes without repair, it will trap us in a loop. Endless emergency returns. Sounds inconvenient, he said. It would kill us eventually. Ethan pushed himself to his feet. Then we fix it together. He opened a maintenance panel, exposing the core's secondary conduits. They were damaged, cracked from old battles. This tech was not designed for humans, Lyra warned. Neither was half the galaxy, Ethan replied. As he worked, the station shook again. A new alarm tone sounded, core breach warnings. Lyra's fear spiked. She vanished. She reappeared pressed against Ethan's side, knocking his tools from his hands. He steadied her. Hey. I've got you. She closed her eyes, forcing calm. Every time I feel you near, the fear eases. Ethan paused at that, then returned to work. Guess we're good teammates. Outside the chamber, explosions grew closer. The scavengers were cutting through. Ethan rerouted power manually, bypassing alien safety limits. His hands burned as energy surged through the system. Ethan, Lyra said urgently, stop. Your body cannot handle this. "Watch me," he replied. The device responded. The light pattern slowed further, becoming organized. Lyra gasped. "You are stabilizing it." Ethan gritted his teeth. Pain shot through his arms, but he did not let go. A final explosion rocked the chamber door. The metal buckled. The scavengers were almost through. Lyra looked at Ethan, eyes wide with something new respect. "If you fail, you will die," she said. "Then I'll make sure I don't." The device locked into a new rhythm. The glow around Lyra steadied completely for the first time. She did not vanish. The chamber fell quiet, broken only by Ethan's heavy breathing. The door finally gave way. Armed figures flooded in. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between them and Lyra. The lead scavenger laughed. "Human, step aside." Ethan raised his weapon. "No." Lyra felt something shift inside her. The teleport core answered not panic, but intent. Space bent. In a flash, Ethan and Lyra vanished together, leaving the scavengers firing at empty air. They reappeared elsewhere in the station, unharmed, standing side by side. Lyra stared at Ethan in awe. "I chose that jump." Ethan allowed himself a tired smile. "Told you, human way." Around them, the station still burned. But now they were no longer running. They were fighting back. The station felt smaller now. Not because the walls had moved, but because the danger had closed in. Fires burned in distant corridors, and emergency lights painted everything in harsh red and white. The air was thinner, carrying smoke and the sharp taste of metal. Ethan steadied himself as the world finished settling around them. The teleport jump had been clean, but his legs still felt weak. Lyra stood beside him, eyes wide, her body glowing softly, but not wildly. The light was controlled now. "You did that," Ethan said, looking at her. Lyra nodded slowly, as if afraid the truth might vanish if she spoke too loudly. "I did not fall. I did not return in fear. I chose the destination." "That's huge," Ethan said. "You okay?" "Yes," she replied. "And you?" He flexed his fingers. Pain shot through his arms, deep and aching but manageable. Still standing. That seemed to mean something to her. The moment did not last. A tremor rolled through the station, stronger than before. Ethan checked his wrist display. Power levels were dropping fast. The scavengers had breached the primary reactor area. "If they take the core," Ethan said, "this whole place goes up." Lyra looked toward the direction of the reactor, sensing the chaos through the teleport field. "They are forcing the core. They do not understand it." "Story of the galaxy," Ethan muttered. They moved quickly, heading toward the central hub. Along the way, they passed bodies, human and alien, reminders of how badly the outpost had been underprepared. Lyra slowed when she saw them. Her glow flickered. Ethan noticed immediately. He stopped, placing a hand lightly on her arm. "Hey, stay with me." She took a steady breath. The glow settled. "Your presence anchors me," she said quietly. "It is not only the device." Ethan did not fully understand what that meant, but he accepted it. "Then let's keep walking." As they approached the reactor chamber, the sounds of battle grew louder. Energy fire crackled. Shouts echoed in multiple languages. Ethan peeked around a corner. Scavengers filled the chamber, too many. They had heavy weapons and crude power siphons attached to the reactor housing. "This is bad," Ethan said. "Really bad." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "If the reactor destabilizes, the teleport core will react. It will tear open space." "Which kills everyone," Ethan said. "Yes." Ethan leaned against the wall, thinking fast. "Can you teleport them out, one by one?" Lyra hesitated. "I could, but the strain would be immense. My core is still damaged." Ethan looked at the device strapped to her back, humming softly. "What if I help again?" "That will hurt you," she said immediately. He shrugged. "Already does." Before she could argue, Ethan stepped closer, placing a hand on the device. The familiar burning sensation surged through him. He gritted his teeth but did not pull away. Lyra felt it instantly. The teleport field sharpened, becoming clearer, stronger. "You should not be able to do this," she whispered. "Humans hear that a lot," Ethan replied. They stepped into the chamber together. The scavengers noticed too late. Lyra focused not on fear but on intent. One scavenger vanished in a flash of distorted space, reappearing far outside the station, drifting helplessly. Another vanished. Then another. The scavengers panicked, firing wildly. A blast hit Ethan square in the side. Pain exploded through him. He stumbled but stayed upright. Lyra cried out, fear surging. Space bent violently. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. "Look at me, don't jump." She met his eyes, struggling. "You are hurt." "I'll live," he said through clenched teeth. "But if you lose control, we all die." Her breathing slowed, the glow steadied. Together they pushed forward. Lyra teleported the remaining scavengers away in controlled bursts. Each jump drained her, but Ethan stayed with her, grounding the device, absorbing some of the strain. At last, the chamber fell silent. The reactor was damaged but stable. Ethan finally collapsed to one knee, pain catching up to him. Blood stained his uniform. Lyra knelt beside him, panic rising again. "You said you would live." "I said probably," he corrected weakly. She pressed her hands against his wound. The teleport core reacted not by jumping but by resonating. Energy flowed differently, softly. Ethan felt warmth spread through him. The pain dulled. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I am adapting," Lyra said. "My people never used the core this way." The wound closed partially, not healed but stabilized. Ethan exhaled shakily. "Remind me to thank alien science later." Before they could rest, a new signal blared across the station. Not scavengers, warships, official ones. A coalition fleet dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding the outpost. Lyra's face went pale. "They have come for me." Ethan forced himself to stand. "Friends of yours?" "No," she said. "Judges." The station speakers crackled to life. A cold, amplified voice echoed through the halls. "Lyra of the Keller Continuum, you are ordered to surrender. Your existence is a destabilizing threat." Ethan clenched his jaw. "They don't sound friendly." "They are not," Lyra said. "They will dismantle me, study me, end me." Ethan looked around at the ruined station, then at the girl beside him who had been hunted simply for surviving. His decision formed instantly. "Then we don't let them." Lyra stared at him. "You cannot fight a fleet." Ethan smiled grimly. "Watch us." They moved to the command deck, stepping over debris and fallen doors. The main viewport showed the coalition ships, sleek, powerful, overwhelming. Ethan opened a channel. "This is Human Outpost Theta 7. You're violating human space." The response was immediate. "Human authority is irrelevant. Step aside." Ethan leaned back in the command chair. "Funny thing about humans, we don't step aside." Lyra felt the teleport core pulse, reacting to the fleet's targeting systems. Fear threatened to rise again, but she held it back. Ethan placed a hand on the console, steadying himself in her. "You don't have to face this alone," he said. Lyra nodded. "Then neither do you." She reached deeper into the teleport field than ever before, not jumping blindly but weaving space itself. The station flickered, vanishing and reappearing across short distances, impossible to lock onto. Coalition weapons fired and missed. Their targeting systems failed. Ethan laughed softly. "They're confused." "They rely on certainty," Lyra said. "Humans do not." The fleet regrouped, charging weapons for a full strike. Lyra looked at Ethan, fear and determination mixing. "If I push further, I may not return." Ethan met her gaze, unwavering. "Then I'll pull you back." She believed him. Lyra reached out, bending space around the station in a way never intended. The teleport field surged, linking to Ethan completely. The strain hit him like fire. He screamed, collapsing forward, but he did not let go. The station vanished. When it reappeared, it was far beyond the fleet, hidden among the debris of an ancient battlefield. Silence followed. Ethan lay on the floor, unconscious. Lyra knelt beside him, shaking, tears forming for the first time. "Stay," she whispered. "You must stay." The teleport core hummed softly, no longer broken, no longer wild. For the first time it answered not fear, but loyalty. And slowly Ethan breathed again. Ethan's eyes opened slowly. The world was quiet, almost too quiet. The station, though battered and scarred, had stopped shaking. Emergency lights flickered softly, bathing the room in a calm red glow. The air smelled faintly of smoke and burnt circuits, but for the first time in hours, it felt breathable. Lyra was kneeling beside him, her hands lightly resting on his shoulders. Her glow pulsed gently, steady now, no longer reactive. Ethan reached out instinctively, touching her arm. "You're awake," she said, relief in her voice. "I am," Ethan replied, though his muscles protested at every movement. "And judging by the lack of death throes outside this room, I think we survived." Lyra smiled faintly. "We survived because of you." "Because of us," Ethan corrected, wincing as he shifted. "I couldn't have done it without you, and apparently neither could the galaxy." She looked down, embarrassed. "I was scared. I thought I would lose control. I could have killed us all." "You didn't," Ethan said firmly. "You didn't, and you won't, not while I'm here." The two of them stood, unsteady but determined. The station, though damaged, could still function if they were careful. Ethan led the way to the control room where the main console awaited. Lyra followed, her glow illuminating the debris-strewn path. The viewport showed the galaxy outside, a swirl of distant stars, debris, and the faint shadows of what had been a battlefield. The Coalition fleet that had pursued them was nowhere in sight. The teleport core had hidden the station from their sensors entirely. Ethan stared at it in awe. "You did this?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, but I could not have done it without your presence. You grounded me." He shrugged, smiling wryly. "Humans have a talent for that, getting through impossible situations without breaking entirely." Lyra studied him for a long moment as if trying to understand. "Your species, you are not supposed to endure this. You are not supposed to anchor such power." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Guess that's what makes us interesting." They moved to the communications console. Ethan activated it carefully, scanning for any incoming transmissions. Nothing. No Coalition ships, no scavengers, no warnings, just silence. The galaxy was still watching, but for the moment it gave them space to breathe. Lyra placed a hand on his arm. "I must leave soon." "My people will come for me, they will want answers." Ethan nodded. "I figured as much, but you're not alone. We'll face them together if they try anything." She looked at him, something unreadable in her eyes. You are human, yet you do not retreat. You do not fear what others fear. It is remarkable." He shrugged again. "We call it stubbornness. Comes in handy sometimes." They began repairing the station together. Ethan worked on rerouting power to the damaged reactors while Lyra stabilized the teleport core. Every now and then she would vanish briefly and reappear on top of him, startling him despite everything they had endured. Each time he laughed quietly. "You really don't make it easy for me," he said after one sudden reappearance. Lyra smiled, faintly amused. "I am still learning control." Hours passed. Slowly systems came back online. The reactor hummed steadily. Lights stabilized. Sensors confirmed no immediate threats. The station, once a battlefield, began to resemble the outpost it had been meant to be, a place of observation and defense. Lyra moved closer to the teleport device. She studied it, touching the conduits and panels. Ethan watched, fascinated. "You've made it work," he said. "Completely stable now." "Yes," she said softly, "and it is no longer bound only to me. It responds to intent, to trust, to humans." Ethan chuckled. "Well, I guess that means I'm officially important." She looked at him seriously. "You are more than important, you are remarkable. Not because of what you can do with machines, but because of what you can endure with courage." He looked away, unaccustomed to praise. "I just did what had to be done. Anyone would." "Not anyone," she said firmly. "Humans can endure, yes, but most would have fled. Most would have panicked. You stood, you faced it. You anchored me when even the core could not." Ethan finally met her gaze. He felt something shift, a quiet understanding between them. They were not just survivor and hunted, they were partners. And in the chaos of the galaxy, Partnership could be more powerful than fleets of ships. Outside, the stars continued to burn, distant and indifferent. But inside the station, a human and an alien had changed the rules of what was possible. They had survived chaos, stabilized an impossible machine, and defied enemies who believed themselves inevitable. Lyra touched his shoulder again. "Wherever I go, I will be remembered for this, but so will you. Humanity is not weak. It can endure what no other species can." Ethan smiled faintly. "Good. Someone has to show the galaxy we're more than it thinks." The next few hours passed in careful planning. They repaired the station's communication arrays and sent coded messages warning nearby human colonies of coalition movements. Every signal carried proof. Humanity could endure, adapt, and overcome. Lyra practiced controlled teleportation, vanishing and reappearing precisely where she intended, no longer unpredictably. And each time she landed safely, always near Ethan. It had become instinct, a bond stronger than any machine or technology. Finally, the repairs were sufficient. The station hummed with life once more. The danger had passed for now. Ethan and Lyra stood together on the command deck, watching the stars. "You could leave," Ethan said quietly. "Go to your people, answer their questions, be free." Lyra shook her head. "I could, but I choose not to. My bond with you, with your species, it is not a weakness. It is a choice." Ethan felt a smile tug at his lips. "Good choice. I like humans that stay." They watched the galaxy together, calm at last. For the first time in weeks, they were not running, not fighting, not scrambling for survival. They were simply there, two beings from different worlds, connected by trust, courage, and a shared experience no one else could understand. Lyra's glow pulsed gently in the low light, steady and controlled. Ethan reached out, placing his hand on hers. "We made it," he said softly. "Yes," she replied, "and we will endure whatever comes next." The stars outside burned on, eternal and distant, but inside humanity had proven itself again. Where others might falter, they stood firm. Where chaos threatened, they endured. And in the quiet, small victories of courage and trust, the galaxy began to notice what humans were truly capable of. Ethan looked at Lyra. "No matter what comes, we face it together," she smiled, a soft, confident glow shining across her face. "Together." And with that, the station became more than a battlefield. It became a symbol. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity could survive. Humanity could endure. And wherever chaos appeared, humans would stand. For the first time, Lyra truly understood the depth of what Ethan had said all along. Humans were remarkable not for what they could build, but for what they could withstand. And she, who had been hunted and alone, had found her anchor. The stars stretched infinitely beyond them, silent witnesses to the courage and endurance of one human and one alien who had refused to give up. The galaxy would remember, and so they waited, prepared, and endured together.